Thank you, Rajiv. So, good afternoon, everyone. I think I'm audible properly, Rajiv?
Yes, madam, it is audible, quite
Okay.
audible.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. So, you can see a picture on your screen. And what do you find from this picture? Like what do you infer from this pictures? These are two photographs which I have. Yeah.
The people are writing that it is pollution.
Yeah, it is pollution. Yeah, right?
In the chat box, everyone is writing pollution.
Because we are talking about fuels here, of course, pollution is there, but we are talking that the amount of energy we need for all these. Of course, that energy produces pollution also, but the major thing is that amount of energy required by us. Everything, all industries, all house, we have ACs, we have heaters, we need geysers in the house also. We need so much of energy, vehicles, everything. For moving anything in our world, we need energy. So the increasing industrialization and motorization of the world has led to a steep rise for the demand of petroleum-based fuels. Today, fossil fuels take up around 80% of the primary energy consumed in the world, out of which 58% is almost consumed by the transport sector. So see the amount of energy we need in the transport sector. The sources of these fossil fuels are becoming exhausted day by day. And of course, as you all have said, that pollution. So this all leads to greenhouse gas emissions, which leads to many negative effects, including climate change, rise in sea level, loss of biodiversity, etc. People will always need fuel for daily needs. And since the demand for oil has increased, production from large oil fields is declining at the rate of 4 to 5% annually. Subsequently, the world production of oil is expected to peak in coming years. So there's a statistics which makes us worrying that the production of oil and gas is approaching its maximum, and we have to find new ways of producing the energy. So increasing energy demands lead to an increase in crude oil. Crude oil price affected to global economic activities. So the use of renewable energy sources is becoming increasingly more. We are to achieve the changes required to address the impacts of the global warming. So biofuel is one of there are many renewable energy sources you have been discussing for so many days, for the last 2 days. So biofuel is one of the most common form of renewable energy among the other forms of renewable energies, right? Biofuels have emerged as one of the most important substitute fuel source and are considered as an important way of progress for greenhouse gas emissions. It improves the air quality, and it is of course renewable and carbon neutral. Biofuels are necessary environment and economic sustainability. So here I come with the topic biofuels. Myself, Professor Amrit Paltu from Chemical Engineering Department, as introduced by Dr. Rajiv. So what are biofuels? It's a solid. Biofuels can be in a form of solid, liquid, or gaseous based on their biological materials. Biofuel derived from recently dead biological materials, most commonly plants. So the basic difference between, because both fossil fuels also come from the plants only, from the biological material, and biofuel are also derived from that plants only. But the only difference between the two is biofuels are produced from recently dead biological materials like plants and all, whereas the fossil fuels are derived from long dead biological materials which are put under a lot of pressure and compression under the rocks, and then they produces the then they are used, those fossil fuels. So bioenergy provides roughly 35% of energy demand in developing countries, 13% of the world's energy demand. It is still the main energy source in a number of countries. Like all developing countries, they have been using, and they're using wood as one of the source of energy. Bhutan is using around 86%, Nepal 97%, Africa 39%. So still now also there are many countries where the main source of energy is this bioenergy. The main use of bioenergy in these countries, firewood for cooking and heating. About 55% of the 4 billion meter cube of wood used annually by the world's population is used directly as a fuel for heating and cooking, mainly in developing countries. So biofuels are also classified according to their source and type. They may be derived from the forest, agriculture waste, fishery products, municipal waste, also including byproducts and waste originated by the agro industries, food industries, etc. So there can be different source of biofuels. Then type of biofuels. Biofuels can be solid, as we have said, they can be solid, such as fuel wood, charcoal, wood pellets, etc. Liquid, such as ethanol, biodiesel. Then gaseous, such as biogas. Then we have classification of biofuels. Biofuels can be classified as primary biofuels, secondary biofuels. The primary biofuels are used in an unprocessed forms, primarily for heating, cooking, or electricity production, such as fuel wood, wood chips, pellets, etc. Secondary biofuels are the biofuels produced by processing of biomass, example, ethanol, biodiesel, etc. So biofuel, as we said, they are primary fuels and secondary. In primary fuels, as we have discussed, it is firewood, wood chips, pellets, etc., animal waste, forest waste, crop residues, landfill, etc., which are used for the production of biofuels. Under secondary fuels, we have different generations. What do we mean by generations here? Like when initially we started producing biofuels, there were some basic raw materials which we were using. With time, we found out that we can have raw materials which can be more easily available and much cheaper. Then that came the second generation, and subsequently there's more improvement in the raw material that led to the third generation. So the first generation was basically the substrate was seeds, grains, or sugars. Bioethanol or butanol, they were produced by fermentation of starch from wheat, barley, corn, potato, sugar, because these all products have starch in them, and starch can be converted into alcohols by fermentation process. We all know that. Similarly, biodiesel was produced by esterification of the oils like rapeseed oil, soybean oil, sunflower, palm, coconut, using cooking oils, animal fats, etc. Now, what was the basic problem with this first generation was we were using all the edible things like wheat, barley, corn, potato, then sunflower oil, soybean oil, coconut oil. These all are edible oils. So then there comes a competition between whether we want to have it as a food or we want to use it as a energy. And plus the energy produced from this was expensive because we were using edible things to produce the energy. So it was not very successful because to make it commercial, it was very difficult to weigh between the food and energy, because food is our basic requirement. So then the scientists start thinking on some other way where we should not be using the basic food grades for the production of the energy or biofuels. So second thing was then we started looking for was lignosalvage biomass, bioethanol, bioethanol by hydrolysis, by different this thing, then biodiesel by translocation of non-edible oils like jatropha. Then there came a reason that it needed these, although they were non-edible oils and non-edible this thing from which we were making the productions, but then a lot of land was being used for these productions. So hence there was a third generation in which a substrate as algae, seaweeds were used, because wherever there are open ponds and this thing, so you can produce algae. It does not need extra land for this thing, production of algae or seaweeds. So hence we started using these as the basic source for the production of biodiesel, bioethanol and hydrogen production from these. So what is biomass basically? So biomass is a term for all organic materials that stems from plants, maybe algae, trees, crops, everything which has which is basically originated from a plant is a biomass. So biomass is produced by green plants converting sunlight into plant material through photosynthesis, and includes all land and water-based vegetations as well as organic waste. So basically biomass is being indirectly, it is using solar energy. It's in the form of solar energy is absorbed by the plants, which is by photosynthesis process is absorbed by the plants, and then that energy is that chemical energy. This solar energy is being converted into chemical energy, which is further converted by the conversion of biomass into the energies, right? So the biomass resources can be considered organic matter in which energy of sunlight is stored in a chemical bonds. So we are basically absorbing the sunlight and converting it to chemical energy. Solar energy is being converted into chemical energy with the process of photosynthesis. Now this chemical energy is stored in the forms of the bonding between the carbon compounds or the carbon hydrogen compounds or carbon oxygen compounds in the organic matter. As we all know, generally all the organic compounds are formed basically with the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So mainly it is carbon and hydrogen. So the bonds between the adjacent carbons or between the carbon and hydrogen, they are formed because they absorb energy. So we need these molecules can be broken by digestion, combustion or decomposition, and they releases lot of energy which is stored in them in the form of chemical energy. So biomass has always been a major source of energy for mankind, is and presently estimated to contribute to around 10 to 14% of the world's supply. That is a biomass resource. The most important biomass energy sources are wood and wood waste, agriculture crops and their waste byproducts, municipal waste, animal waste, waste from food processing, aquatic plants and algae. So as we have discussed earlier, that it is basically the amount of chemical energy in the form of chemical bonds stored in the organic mass. So this biomass is basically, so its properties of the biomass will depend upon the property of large molecules of which it is made up of. So how much chemical bonds are there in this biomass, depending on that, we will be able to find out how much energy it will be giving. The solar energy driving photosynthesis stored, as we have discussed earlier. Now what happens when the biomass is processed efficiently? Now what we said was when biomass is either with the help of combustion or we said that decomposition or digestion, by all these methods what we basically are doing is we are breaking the bonds. So carbon, in case of combustion, this carbon and hydrogen, they combine with oxygen from the air to give you carbon dioxide and water. So basically carbon and hydrogen present in the biomass gets in combustion gets converted into CO2 and water. So now what happens, there is also a carbon dioxide is being produced here also, which is another, again, a term of pollution. But burning fossil fuels use old biomass and converts into new CO2. But here what happens is, now we are producing CO2, but at the same time we are growing plants. So the cycle is keep on moving. CO2 is being produced, but that CO2 is being used to produce new plants also. So this is a total life cycle, which can be, you can see here that solar energy and carbon dioxide, they together, because we need both of these for the photosynthesis process, and hence the plants grow because the leaves by photosynthesis process they grow, and this biomass, leaves and all are produced. And then after harvesting them and processing them, we take out the cellulose, and the cellulose is basically organic matter. The cellulose is then converted into with the help of enzymes, we break down the cellulose into sugars, and these sugars are then converted into by fermentation or by burning or this thing, then we produce biofuels. These biofuels are then further used by the vehicles, by the industry, and then these wherever we use it, they produces carbon dioxide, which carbon dioxide goes back to the generation of new plants. So of course it's not 100%, we can't justify that we are utilizing whole of carbon dioxide, but yes, we are there's a little balance as compared to the amount of CO2 generated from the fossil fuels, right? So next is the characteristics of our ideal energy crops are, we should have high yield, maximum production of dry matter per hectare, that is our basic requirement, low energy input to produce, low cost, least contaminant we should have, and low nutrient requirements. So these desired characteristics will depend upon the local climate and the soil conditions also. So water consumption can be a major constraint in many areas of the world and makes the drought resistance of a crop an important factor. So the requirement of water is a major factor. So we can see the plant should be requiring less amount of water because that will help us in production, easy production of the biomass. So the major the material which we are producing for biomass, it should have the properties which has to be seen as an energy sources. How much moisture content is there? What is its calorific value? Proportion of fixed carbon and volatiles, ash to residue content, alkali metal contents, cellulose to lignin ratio, bulk density. So we have two types of biomass. One is dry biomass and wet biomass. For different type, like for combustion, all we need dry biomass, but for this enzymatic and this thing process, we need wet biomass, right? So in case of dry biomass, the first 5 moisture content, calorific value, and proportion of fixed and carbon and volatile, they are the major requirement. Whereas in case of wet, the bulk density and moisture content are one of the major factors. So I'll not go into more details because as told by Dr. Rajiv, that we have different type of from different fields of people are here as in the FTP. So It is just that moisture content in a layman is this thing कि अगर हमारे उसमें जितना वो moisture ज्यादा होगा उतनी उसकी combustion will be difficult. But yes, जब हम उसको biological उसकी वो करते हैं degradation, तो then water is required. So thermal conversion के लिए अगर हमें इसको combustion करनी है तो हमें moisture content कम चाहिए, but अगर हमें ethanol by biochemical और fermentation से बनानी है तो तब हमें ये required होता है. फिर है calorific value. So we all know कि जितनी उसकी calorific value ज्यादा होगी, उसकी heating value जितना ज्यादा होगी, उतना हमारे लिए वो अच्छा source of fuel होगा. So then fixed carbon and volatile matter ये देते हैं. ये चीजें जो होती हैं that give us that हम कितनी easily उस चीज को unite कर सकते हैं and subsequently gasify कर सकते हैं, so और oxidize कर सकते हैं. So depending upon how much this biomass can be utilized as an energy source, so volatile matter and fixed carbon जितना होगा उतना हमारे लिए वो अच्छी चीज है. There is ash and residue content. See, in any biomass or in fact in any fuel also, जब आप wood burn करते हो या कुछ है तो आपने देखा होगा कि इनमें ash बच जाती है. So what is basically that ash or residue? That is basically when we burn any biomass material. One thing is there is not 100% of conversion, so some of the solid material, especially wood, unburnt is left. That is residue. Plus, any biomass has some material in it which cannot be burned or which cannot be processed. That is ash. So it will go as such because this is amount which is there's present which does not have carbon, hydrogen. So it cannot react with oxygen. So this portion is known as ash, which is not reactable, and that goes into a residue as such. So ये हमारे जितना उसमें कम होगा उतना अच्छा है, because otherwise जितनी ash content ज्यादा होगी उतनी हमारी उसकी efficiency system की कम हो जाएगी. Then another important is bulk density. Bulk density means आपकी उसकी density, अगर bulk density high होगी तो थोड़ी जगह में ज्यादा biomass material आ जाएगा. अगर bulk density low होगी तो इसका मतलब से moisture content and उसमें porosity ज्यादा है. So उस केस में क्या है कि उस केस में आपका ज्यादा जो space occupied होगी वो ज्यादा होगी, and at the same time but उसका जो content है वो तो उतना ही रहेगा. So you need bigger area to process and lesser amount is available. So it depends, especially in case of combustion. We generally try to dry it first and then use it so that the bulk density is increased. So then there are different types of biofuels. One is charcoal. आप सबने देखा है, charcoal is a black substance that resembles coal, but coal is something which we get as such from the rocks. But charcoal is which is being processed by us. So charcoal is generally made from wood that has been burnt or charred while being deprived of the oxygen. So basically आपने उसको उसकी processing किया था high temperature without the अगर तो उसमें oxygen supply कर दोगे तो क्या हो जाएगा, oxygen के साथ रह करके वो तो वही carbon dioxide बना देगा और energy पूरी उसकी use हो जाएगी. But we don't want that. We want to just processes in a way that हम उसको बाद में use कर सकें. So it is basically at a very high temperature. We are trying to make the use of it later on, and हम इसको process करते हैं ताकि इसकी bulk density भी कम हो और हम इसको easily use कर सकें. ठीक है. So आपने देखा होगा charcoal जहाँ भी होता है, and it is first process, so it is at high temperature. We are basically so we are basically processing it at a high temperature without oxygen. So the जो पीछे रह जाएगा जो उसका unburnt जो है जहाँ जो उसका कार्बन रेजिड्यू है वो अलग हवा से सेपरेट हो जाएगा. The next is a biomass or briquetting, and this what is we are make briquettes out of it, and हम उसको जो green waste है उसको हम material को इंस्टेड ऑफ बल्क में करके हम उसको कंप्रेस करके ताकि उसकी बल्क डेंसिटी बढ़ जाएगी, एंड वी मेक pellets और briquettes out of it which can be used for the further for as a fuel, right? इसमें आप जैसे आपके पास राइस हस्क है, बिगासे है, नट शेल्स है, जितना भी एग्रीकल्चर वेस्ट है, इस सबको हम कंप्रेस करके, बिकॉज इस सब में क्या होता है कि इसकी बल्क डेंसिटी लो होती है, तो हम इसको कंप्रेस करके इसकी बल्क डेंसिटी इंक्रीज कर देते हैं, एंड थोड़ी स्पेस में ज्यादा अमाउंट ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल कैन बी प्रोसेस्ड. So what are its advantage? As I told, concentrated briquettes are created by compressing combustible materials, so उसमें उसकी less space में ज्यादा वो आ जाता है, it becomes more efficient. So this makes the transportation also easy to store, right? So basically what you do is आपके पास जो भी रॉ मटेरियल, चाहे वो राइस हस्क है, जहाँ और भी जो भी चीजें हैं, उसको आप कट करके, जहाँ एग्रीकल्चर वेस्ट है, आप क्या करते हो, सबको क्रश कर लेते हो. क्रश करके देन यू ड्राई इट सो दैट उसमें जो एक्स्ट्रा मॉइस्चर है वो रिमूव हो जाए, एंड देन आपकी कंप्रेसिंग मशीन्स होती हैं जिनमें कंप्रेस करके आप उनको हार्ड ब्रिकेट्स टाइप बना लेते हो, एंड फिर उसकी कटिंग करके कूल करके तुम्हारे पास फिनिश प्रोडक्ट है जिसको आप इजिली ट्रांसपोर्ट कर सकते हो, राइट? Then is main process technology for conversion of biomass to energy. हम दो तरीके से, there are two different ways in which we can convert the biomass to energy. One is thermochemical process, other is a biochemical or biological process. Under thermochemical process, it is combustion, as we have done, pyrolysis, gasification, liquefaction. And biochemical and biological process are digestion and fermentation. Fermentation is production of ethanol. Just as I said, with the help of yeast, you convert sucrose to alcohols. Digestion is basically you are digesting the biomass in a digester, and your major products are methane and carbon dioxide. So combustion, so basically combustion is a very simple form in which you burn the biomass in the presence of air, because basically you know that all the biomass, they have carbon and hydrogen, and carbon and hydrogen at a suitable temperature, if air is provided to it, they start that carbon and hydrogen of the biomass material gets on heating and reacts with the air to give you carbon dioxide and water, and this is a very high exothermic reaction. So a lot of temperature, being exothermic reaction means कि जब ये reaction होती है, जब कार्बन ऑक्सीजन के साथ react करता है, जहाँ हाइड्रोजन ऑक्सीजन के साथ react करता है, तो lot of energy is released. So that energy is released increases the जो गैसेस आपकी CO2 एंड स्टीम बनती है, वो एनर्जी उनके साथ हॉट गैसेस होती है at high temperature, and this energy can be used like even in your houses like or chullas. What we have is हम लोग wood को burn करते हैं, जहाँ किचन्स में हम हमारे LPG है उसको हम burn करते हैं, तो बेसिकली क्या होता है, कार्बन एंड ऑक्सीजन हम उनको इग्नाइट करते हैं, तो कार्बन एंड ऑक्सीजन रिएक्ट्स to give you carbon dioxide, and for that reaction, a lot of exothermic reaction, a lot of heat is produced, which helps in cooking, in your cooking, or that energy can be used in any form. So basically for combustion, the major requirement is that our biomass should have less moisture content, so that we can have better efficiency. Next process is gasification. What happens in gasification is that the conversion of biomass into combustible gas mixture by partial oxidation of the bio. हम उसकी oxidation कर रहे हैं at high temperature, and जो gases produce हो रही हैं, they are product gases which can be used in the form of for further oxidation, and they are basically production of methanol and hydrogen, which can further be used as a fuel for transportation. Pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is the conversion of biomass to liquid, like a bio oil or crude oil. So, by heating the biomass in the absence of air to around 500 degree or higher temperature. Like charcoal is also produced by the process of pyrolysis. Basically, in pyrolysis, there's no oxygen present, but there's a heating at a very high temperature. So this is charcoal. Then bio oils, they are also produced by pyrolysis, and fuel gases also. Then there's liquefaction. Liquefaction is low temperature cracking of biomass molecules due to high pressure results in liquid diluted fuel, but this process is employing only low temperature and has to compete. The yield is quite low in this process. So this process, the other three processes are commonly used, but liquefaction is not has not been developed up to that level that can be used for the conversion technologies. Then we come to biological processes. Under this, one is fermentation. We all know alcohol is produced by the process of fermentation. So ethanol is alcohol. So ethanol can be bioethanol is produced by the fermentation of sugar or any starch crops, from which sugar can be. We can get the sugar with the help of enzymes, and then further with the help of yeast, this sucrose products are converted into ethanols, and this ethanol is further purified by the process of distillation. Whoever there is a from the engineering background, they know what is distillation. It's basically purifying the ethanol, because the ethanol which is produced by the process of fermentation have lot of impurities. These impurities are then separated by the help of the process distillation. And the solid residue which is left after fermentation can be used as a kettle feed, or they can also be used as a fuel for the boilers, because that also has organic matter left in it, which can be further used for subsequent gasification. The next type of process is anaerobic digestion, in which this is the way we get all the biogas जो आजकल हमें मिलती है. That is where the process of anaerobic digestion. So we have a big digesters in which we put lot of generally this cow dung and all the organic waste, agriculture waste, leaves and all. They all are kept put in the digester, and they are by the anaerobic digestion. They gets converted. This organic matter with time gets converted into methane and carbon dioxide, and which can be further, this biogas can be, from this biogas we can separate the CO2 from methane, and this methane is further used as a biogas. So liquid biofuels are mainly they can replace the conventional liquid fuels like diesel and petrol. So basically, if you have biodiesel, that can be used with the diesel, and or bioethanol that can be used with the petrol. So the first and second generation biofuels, as we have discussed, were used, and but now the process, the research work is mainly on the third generation of biofuels. So bioethanol as a fuel. Ethanol is a renewable transportation fuel. It can be used with gasoline. We can make a blend of gasoline and ethanol, and that can be used in the engines. Like we have E10 means that we have 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. So here you can see that glucose or sucrose, they can be with the help of yeast, they get converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide, and a lot of heat is being produced. So this heat can be further used, and of course this ethanol is used as a fuel. So here's a basically a pilot plant scheme that we have biomass. This biomass is pre-treated with the help of alkaline solution, and then further then the refining of it is done, and then fermentation take place, and after fermentation there's a distillation done in which we have impurities are removed, and you get pure alcohol, and if there is any water, that can be removed by dehydration process. So about 95% total ethanol is produced using fermentation of sugars from various biomass. So major synthetic ethanol is very less produced, but mainly it is produced by the process of fermentation. Even the alcohol which we use for other processes also, that is mainly used produced by the fermentation process. So the major world ethanol production by feedstock is mainly it is from the sugar crops, and the molasses which we get from the sugar after taking out sugar, the molasses, that is a major source of production of ethanol. Then another biofuel which is much in demand now is butanol. Because butanol has a 4 carbon alcohol. See, for the participants who are not from a science background or this thing, we know that ethanol is a C2, basically that only 2 carbon chain, whereas butanol is a 4 carbon chain alcohol. So जितनी आपकी कार्बन चेन ज्यादा होंगी, उतना उनको ब्रेक उनके अंदर उतनी एनर्जी ज्यादा स्टोर होगी. जितने केमिकल बॉन्ड ज्यादा होंगे, उतने इथेनॉल में 2 केमिकल बॉन्ड्स हैं, कार्बन में 1 है, इसमें 4 कार्बन में बॉन्ड है, उतने ही सब्सिक्वेंटली हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स भी ज्यादा है. सो देयर आर मोर बॉन्डिंग केमिकल बॉन्ड्स आर देयर. In fact, that means it has stored more energy in it. So subsequently, it will give you more energy out of it when it breaks. So it contains, that means it contains more energy than ethanol, which increased to the 25 increase. So butanol is less corrosive than ethanol and can be shipped and distributed to existing pipelines and filling stations. And 85% butanol gasoline blends can be used in unmodified petrol engine में. आप unmodified petrol engine में भी आप इसको use कर सकते हो. And plus another thing is butanol is less evaporative than gasoline or ethanol, making it safer to use and generate few less volatile organic compounds. Emissions are less, VOC is less. That means it gives you a better as an environment product also. So butanol is a new biofuel. It can be created in mass quantity using a process called acetone butanol ethanol fermentation. So we have microorganisms in such a way they create a mixture. Conversion is done in such a way that microorganisms are selected in such a way that the process creates a mixture. Approximately it has 70% butanol, 25% acetone, and 5% ethanol. This is called acetone butanol ethanol, ABE fuel. It can be used 100% also, 85% also, and it gives good performances. This is the production. This is same biomass. We have starch, we have lignocellulose biomass. From this again we can have cellulose and hemicellulose. We can have directly starch from the biomass, or from biomass we can have lignocellulosic biomass which can be separated to give you cellulose and hemicellulose. These further converts to give you glucose, and which can be further fermented to give you ethanol, acetone, and butanol, depending upon the type of catalyst used. So butanol versus ethanol. Butanol is less hydrophilic, less corrosive, lower volatile, less explosive, has approximately 30% more energy accumulated per volume, more compatible with the installed base of autos, better mixing with the gasoline. So what are the challenges in this also? Of course, we have said that it's a good biofuel, but still we have challenges for which we have some solutions, and we are looking for some solutions. That is how the research keeps on going on, that we have some challenges, we look for a solution, and the research keeps on going. So high feedstock cost significantly increase operating cost. So same way we have to start transferring towards cheaper feedstocks like agriculture residue, etc. Low butanol titers increases recovery cost. Develop improved microbes. हम जितने microbes increase अच्छे develop करेंगे for more conversion, हमारे पास ज़्यादा yield आएगी. Similarly, so we have to have lot of improvement in this process to have a better efficiency. So with this, we have already discussed that the first generation liquid biofuels were basically biofuels produced from edible products, and so we switched to the non-edible biomass. That was our second generation. The main advantage of this was that we were using non-edible feedstocks for the biofuels, and hence the cost also decreased. But then there was a lot of land, like Jatropha was one time. Jatropha was a major source of producing biodiesel, and a lot of Jatropha was grown, cultivated. But at the same time, it also needed a lot of land, and hence further we went to third generation. That was, as I said, algae or water products from which the biofuels can be produced without even the cost could be more cheaper, because the cost of land decreases in case of third generation biofuels. An advantage of microalgae, their cost of harvesting microalgae is relatively low as compared to other biomass materials. They do not compete for land with the crops which are used for food and production. They can be grown in number of environments. A major advantage of microalgae is that it can be also grown in a polluted water also, and at the same time what it is that microalgae purifies the water also. So you have a two-way advantage, that you are using a wastewater for production of algae, and at the same time that wastewater is being treated also. They have a faster growth rate because they grow very fast, so their exponential growth rate is more as compared to other plants. If we grow, they produce valuable co-products और byproducts also, क्योंकि इसके साथ आपको proteins, carbohydrate and residual biomass जो है that can be used as a fertilizers. And as I discussed, they are also capable of fixing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that is also a way of हम greenhouse effect को भी कम कर रहे हैं. Then is what is biodiesel? Now biodiesel is basically their biodiesel are basically esters, long chain esters derived from fatty acids, from oils of fats. All the oils and fats, they have triglycerides in them. This triglyceride reacts with the alcohol in the presence of the catalyst, to give you esters which can be used as a, this ester is used as a biodiesel. So they have advantages that derivation from renewable domestic resources. They can be produced from waste oil and all. Reduction of most exhaust emissions, high flash point, excellent lubricity. It has the same properties as mineral fossil diesel oil. So it can be used as a standard diesel engine without additional modifications. This can be used or mixed with the diesel and can be used. So you can see this.
These are produced.
Pure biodiesel is produced can be used as B100.
20
So it can be used as such, or it can be mixed and can be used. And it also, when it's mixed with the diesel, it improves the properties of the diesel. Relatively greenhouse gas emissions, of course, if we are using B100, we have quite less emissions as compared to other in B20, which we have 20%, 80%. And then if we use pure diesel and LPG, CNG sector, they have more greenhouse gas emissions as compared to biodiesel. Same way, biodiesel and CO2 and all this particulate matter and other gases produced are also less. So it reduces the emissions, which is advantages. Leading biodiesel producers worldwide in billion liters is US as the highest. And of course, India, we are the lowest one in producing biodiesel as compared to developed countries. But yes, we can also increase our production for this. So this is basically a flow chart how we are making biodiesel in the on a pilot plant or a lab scale. That we use first we make a catalyst and methanol plus vegetable oils. They are converted by transfer esterification process. It gives glycerol and impure biodiesel. Glycerol is separated because there's a density difference. So the two layers are formed and they are separated, and this biodiesel is further purified if there are any soap, because there can be some soap formation also. And this, after washing, we get a pure biodiesel with the help of washing of water and acetic acid. This is in the lab. We have made the biodiesel, and this is how we have a round bottom flask. In this we add the oil. Basically, we had worked in our lab. Dr. G's work was mainly on production of esters biodiesel from rice bran oil and algae. So basically, algae, we had extracted the oil from the algae and from rice bran, and further we have processed it with the help of transfer reaction in the presence of catalyst. And the required temperature is around 55 degrees centigrade, and the biodiesel was produced. So potential benefits of biofuels: energy security, domestic energy sources, locally distributed, well-connected supply-demand chain, price stability, employment generation, rural development, reduce inter-fuel competition, reduce demand-supply gap. Of course, environmentally, it has better waste utilization, reduce local pollution, reduction in landfill sites. These are its benefits. Of course, we have challenges also with the benefits. Feedstock collection is a big thing. collecting the agriculture waste and then household waste, everything, their storage, their fuel-to-fuel competition, then their pre-treatment, enzyme production, funds for research and development, pilot scale demonstrations. All these are the challenges on which, these are topics on which research is going on, and further also much more improvements are required. So in the end, I can say, I can conclude that the consideration of any process for biotransformation of substrates and realize what are the current research challenges to be faced in production of biofuels needs critical evaluation. Despite so many obvious advantages, still no large production facilities have been established using biotransformation of lignocellulose materials. So need more and more of research. Bioethanol is currently being produced from sugarcane and starch-containing substrates. Although there are similarities in between lignocellulosic and starch processes, but there are techno-economical challenges to use this lignocellulose for the conversion. More research on third-generation biofuels is required. A well-thought strategy for the process integration to reduce the number of steps involved in the overall production process. Working in 3R strategies: recycling, reduction, and reuse of any byproducts and waste generated in this process to reduce the energy demand and protect the environment. Thanks.